in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial. Combs' former chief financial officer is on the stand being questioned by the defense. Derek Ferguson said he worked for Combs Enterprises from 1998 to 2017, and he testified that he interacted with Combs pretty regularly until more professional management was brought in to run the company.
Earlier, we also heard from a former Intercontinental Hotel security guard who testified Combs vowed to, quote, take care of him if he turned over the security footage that showed Combs dragging and kicking his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Garcia said Combs seemed nervous about the video getting out, telling him it could ruin him. Garcia says Combs ultimately paid $100,000 for that footage and also made Garcia sign a non-disclosure agreement. Combs has pleaded not guilty to the charges against him. He is facing up to life in prison if convicted on all accounts. Joining us now is defense attorney Misty Marris. So, Misty, as we look at this, ahead of Derek Ferguson's testimony, you had said the prosecution was still a little thin when it came to putting together that argument for them on conspiracy, racketeering conspiracy. How much has Ferguson, even in just his short time on the stand today, been able to do for the prosecution?
So right now we can see where the prosecution is going because they're linking Combs' businesses to the racketeering activity. So we've heard testimony about how intermingled Combs and his personal affairs is with the business. And some of that has been business transactions, management of properties, and specifically employment of individuals in his security who we anticipate are going to be these alleged co-conspirators who are committing the racketeering activity or predicate crimes. But I'll tell you, I wasn't really that moved by it. I wasn't feeling like prosecutors were really closing the loop until the most recent testimony on direct, where Ferguson is now testifying about a $20,000 transaction that came in from Cassie Ventura's father. Now, this makes us look back to Cassie Ventura's mother's testimony, where she was asked by Combs for $20,000 in exchange for not putting out explicit videos of Cassie, and because she thought Combs was going to hurt her if he did not receive that $20,000. So there you have a business transaction through the company that links directly back to what would be considered illegal conduct. And that's why this might have started off a bit slow, but that type of link speaks to the prosecution's case, where they say Combs' businesses are really just fronts for this criminal enterprise. So I'm seeing that link start to come to fruition, where I'm understanding more about the prosecution's criminal enterprise.
And Misty, what about this testimony from Eddie Garcia? He was that employee at the Intercontinental Hotel who testified that Combs paid him $100,000 in cash to obtain that security footage that eventually leaked of Combs beating Cassie Ventura and chasing her down a hallway. What's the importance of the cash payment and then the NDA that the security official says Combs had him sign?
Yes, so a couple of different reasons why his testimony was very important. First, the acceptance of the cash and what is basically a bribe and would constitute obstruction of justice. I'll pay you $100,000 to get rid of this tape. Is it the only copy? Make sure it's destroyed so it can't get into the hands of law enforcement. So that speaks to that underlying predicate crime and racketeering activity, which prosecutors need to show that there are crimes being committed in furtherance of the criminal enterprise. Now, here's where we close that loop and how that particular issue goes a step further and the testimony goes a step further. That NDA was with one of Combs' organizations, one of his businesses. So again, you're seeing that link back the racketeering activity to Combs' companies, and that's where prosecutors are focused. You see the defense on cross-examination of Garcia trying to make a distinction, looking to the language of that NDA and saying, all right, well, there's an exception carved out where Garcia could violate the NDA if he were ever to be asked by law enforcement about this. So this is the defense trying to put a wedge, and I expect to hear a lot of this on Ferguson's cross-examination as well, separating Sean Combs as an individual from Sean Combs as an employee or an executive at these companies for the purposes of racketeering. But both the testimony of Garcia and the testimony of Ferguson have definitely been formulating and shaping the RICO conspiracy, which we have not really seen come to fruition as of yet.
Misty Marris, thanks so much for breaking that down for us.
Thank you.